What's going on? Today, I wanted to spend some time to break down the 20-unit apartment complex in Ohio that we own. Just kind of an overview of the deal, but also all of the components that make real estate investing superior in our eyes, and the upsides that sometimes people overlook. So, for starters, this is a property that we bought pretty distressed for $750,000, invested several $100,000 in renovations into the property, and then refinanced all of those initial capital injections out, paid back our private lenders, and then Ethan and I maintained 100% equity of the project. So kind of a perfect BRRRR, obviously becoming more difficult as rates rise, but the overall principles and what we're going to go over, I think is just kind of pretty insightful no matter what kind of market cycle that we're in. So as you can see here, 4 units are still at $800 a month for rent. And then the remaining average out to $950. There's a couple at $975 now. And on the last unit here, you can see I added an extra $1,000, and that's to encompass pet fees, laundry income, and repairs and maintenance income, which is a little bit over $1,000 a month on average. Moving down to expenses, the property's taxes are currently just under $8,000 a year, and insurance is $750 a month, roughly. This does include a commercial liability policy or umbrella. And so obviously a little bit higher. The property appraised for $2.28 million. So we are insured for that full amount. So that's why the taxes on like a per unit per year basis might seem a little bit high. Gas and electric just kind of averaged out for, laundry room and common exterior lighting. And then there actually isn't gas there, so that's just electric. Water, sewer, garbage is through the town, so it's just under $600 a month on average for the usage there. Lawn and snow, obviously kind of a moving target depending on snowstorms and things like that, but kind of an average that we've seen from the last year and a half. Management, as you can see, 12%, sounds a little bit high, but until we have a good grasp on lease ups and renewals and what the leasing fees on a recurring basis are going to be on top of the management fee, that's just a percent of the gross collected income. So that's why we're on the higher side there. 5% vacancy and 10% maintenance. So the loan terms, 1.277 is our loan balance. And again, we refinanced in November. So interest rate is 7% on a 30-year term and a 5-year fixed interest period. So the reason I have 0% interest plugged in is because 0% for the down payment is because we refinanced all of the capital out of the property. So this just includes, the current loan on the property. We have no money invested in it, and obviously created a pretty significant amount of equity based on, the appraisal that I mentioned. So in total, operating expenses were just under $8,000 a month, and in debt we're just under $8,500 a month. So as you can see, just over $3,000 in monthly cash flow, which comes out to just under $40,000 a year. And that kind of brings us to like the first main upside of real estate, which is cash flow. Obviously you want to buy properties that are income producing and pay you beyond all your expenses every month. So that's, really kind of like, any project we're looking at, is it going to make us money? The second thing that some people do or don't think about is principal pay down. And although yes, you've got this loan for 1.277 in our case, the tenants are actually paying, making those mortgage payments of $8,500. And so if we pull up the amortization schedule here, you can see the loan amount 1.277 on a 30-year term at a 7% interest rate. And assuming, we're just looking 10 years out, we definitely plan to hold the property longer than that. There's $180,000 in principal pay down. So just call it, 180 divided by 10 years. That's actually $18,000 a year averaged out over the 10 years that the tenants are paying down principal. So, just another upside component of real estate to keep in mind. The second thing that we like to look at, no one counts on this, you shouldn't underwrite for this, but certainly keep it in mind, especially, certain markets fluctuate quite a bit more. But it's leverage, but appreciation on your leverage. And so in our example, if we pull up an appreciation calculator, I know I mentioned the property appraising and being worth quite a bit more, but let's just assume that the property is worth 1.277 and that's what our loan balance is, whatever. 2% appreciation annually for a 10-year period The property is now worth $1.556. That's $275,000 in appreciation over a 10-year time frame. And so if you divide that again by 10 years, the 275, it comes out to $27,500 a year in appreciation. And obviously we don't have any money invested in this deal at this point, but for kind of another example of, maybe a different angle to look at appreciation from, let's say you buy a property for $100,000 and you put 20% down, so you put $20,000 down, and the property appreciates 2%. That's 2% appreciation on the total property of $100,000, so $2,000 year one. Now you only invested $20,000. So take the $2,000 divided by the $20,000 you invested, that comes out to 10% on your money in appreciation. So when you are able to allocate and utilize leverage, obviously there's a ton of upside there as well. Another component, inflation, always a big concern. And as you can see, when prices go up, obviously, most people expect rent to go up as well. Rent's really, has never fallen significantly or gone down. And so, again, 10 years out, you can see we're just under $24,000 a month in rental income. And so, again, as expenses go up, maybe our electric bill's a little higher, we're able to raise rents to kind of match that. The second thing is the cost to borrow money in the future and pay the money back to the bank is actually cheaper in the future as inflation rises. In high inflationary times, long-term fixed debt, is really attractive to have. So two kind of inflation, components there. Another thing that we like is management. Obviously, this fee here and the lease ups, we're not involved anymore in the day-to-day of the property or just the ongoing, maintenance and leasing and all of those components. So when you set up the right systems, obviously you still need to hold your property management company accountable, but they're the ones interacting day-to-day with the tenants, taking the maintenance calls, making sure things are taken care of, making sure the laundry room's clean, the landscaping's coordinated, the checks and bills are getting paid. So, obviously a passive investment is a little bit more attractive than maybe say a business that you have to be in, day out, and very hands-on with. So that's definitely an upside of real estate, and that's a fee that can kind of be paid for through the operating expenses, as we've underwritten for here. The last component that we really like is depreciation. So as you can see, if we took straight line depreciation, and again, this is just on the sales price of the property, it doesn't include, all the capital improvements that we've made and our new basis in the property. But as you can see in this example, it'd be $37,000, which is right around our annualized net. And so we wouldn't actually be paying any, taxes on the income that this property is producing because of depreciation. Now, the upside of this is lenders are going to add depreciation back in, so they're not going to count it against your income. And so that's going to allow us to get approved for more loans in the future. And, again, it's not going to be a negative factor on our taxes. Now, one thing that we did do, this is a moving target with the IRS changing some guidelines right now on bonus depreciation, but we did order a cost segregation study, which will allow us to write off significantly more things on the front end, so year one. And so what that's going to allow us to do is take the extra depreciation against some of the active income that we made in our fix and flip company to kind of, basically offset those gains and not have to pay taxes there. This is kind of changing right now. They're trying to phase out bonus depreciation. So, definitely might not be here in the near future, but that is something we were fortunate enough to do. And you can use the bonus depreciation on, other, wholesaling income, flipping income, and things like that. So definitely some upside there, and even on other passive investments, and maybe even outside of real estate, depending on your situation. So hopefully this is kind of, a little eye-opening. Maybe you haven't thought about some of these components and the upsides of real estate, but hope this was helpful.